Okay, so we're back, and thank you guys once again for tuning in. Greatly appreciated. This is the Control Chaos Podcast. I am your host, DJ Flavors, the mixologist, and today we are discussing suicide prevention, and mental health awareness. So, in the last episode, we were talking about some of the risk factors and, how to kind of spot a person who may potentially be at risk, or who may start exhibiting signs of either being in a really deep depression or getting into a depression, and just kind of knowing where to look or what to look for or how to keep an eye open, and knowing is half the battle. So so we're going to get right into the warning signs, and these have been, a lot of people have probably either misdiagnosed it, or they have seen it and not known what it was, or they just think, hey, he's just, he always does this every so often, and whatever. We can't fall back into the habit of just brushing things off, and we can't get into the habit of doing that anymore. When ignorance is not bliss in something in the situation, and it's best that we identify it and try to do the best we can to not put a stop to it, but just kind of do the best we can to step in and just be that voice of reason and a voice of clarity in that person's life for a few minutes. So some of the warning signs that you want to look for is a person that talks about wanting to die, and sometimes it will be just that obvious. You'll have a person that you're talking to, and they're just sitting there going, I don't know, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm tired of fighting. I know when I was probably at my lowest point, I remember telling people I just didn't care. People would be like, hey, we're gonna, you want to come hang out? Or I'm like, I don't really feel like it. I don't care. Then, my friend would be on the phone with me, and she'd be like, are you okay? And when you're real friends, and I'm gonna say real friends because we have acquaintances, but very few real friends. So I'm gonna use that term. When you're real friends, people who really know you, that know your moods, and that knows that that you're not the same you're not the same person you were a couple days ago, whatever. And they pick up on that. They'll start noticing, and and these are the people that need to really kind of pay attention. So when your real friends see that your behavior has changed, the patterns that you exhibit are not the same, because people do things in patterns, and once you change your pattern, that's a sign of something. That's a sign of either a problem or something's wrong. But they will notice that either you're very withdrawn, or you just have this very dark aura about you, I guess is the best way to put it. But they pay attention, and so they will see and they'll notice. Now, how they deal with it may be different. Some people are just very direct. Don't be upset with your friends if they don't know how to approach you. It's not an easy thing to come to someone and talk about it. Some people may just have bad experiences with it, or they may have been going through their own trauma, or just, quite frankly, they probably really do not know how to talk to you about it. And so they might just feel as lost as you do. But anyway, so a person that's talking about wanting to die is one of the things to look for. Some people will start looking for ways to kill themselves. They may go online and start researching it. They may go out and start buying a gun. I really don't tend to agree with that one, because when I was in that stage, I didn't advertise it. But then again, everyone's different. For me, it was just I kind of like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I just kind of didn't really make plans. It was more just like, when it comes to it, I'm just going to do it, you know. But, and I'm not trying to sidetrack. I'm just trying to give you guys a little bit of insight into it. When you want to take that final step, it's not the easiest thing in the world. As much as people may think it is, it takes a lot out of you to think about doing it. And even then, you want to, but there's this little voice in your head that's saying, you know, don't do it. And then it's that internal struggle. Because on one hand, you know, in your mind, when the mind of the person is suffering, I should say, when you take that step, you know, there's that thought that, okay, it's all going to be over. Your problems are going to be done, you know, and, you know, everything is going to be just, I wouldn't say okay, but everything's just going to be final. That's it, you know, you're not going to have to worry about feeling like a failure or feeling like you're a burden, and you just want to end it. And then on the flip side of that is that little voice that says, you know, well, look who you're leaving behind, especially, you know, if you have kids and everything else. And that was probably like, was one of the reasons why I kind of, when I was at that point, stepped back. And, you know, I kept sitting there going, I don't want to do that to my kids. Sorry. I don't want to do it to, you know, and I couldn't see myself. I don't know, just, I knew that if I made that step, the damage it probably would have done to my children, the damage it would have done to their mother, the damage it would have done to people who really cared about me, you know. But on the opposite side of that coin is, yeah, it would have caused them pain, but I was thinking more so of like, okay, what about my pain? When does my pain end? You know. So yeah, it's a difficult decision. Thinking about, you know, when you're thinking about ending your life, it's not the easiest thing in the world. It's not as simple as, you know, sitting down and, okay, I'm gonna do it now. No, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. It's a very painful, stressful, and for lack of a better term, life-altering decision. But the other side you want to look for is, you know, someone saying they feel trapped or they're experiencing unbearable pain. When you're suffering with depression and anxiety and you're bipolar or whatever mental illness you're having, it is a painful experience. It is physically draining, and I know people probably will not understand, or like, you know, will say, hey, well, you know, hey D, how is it painful? Like, what physical pain? When, you know, it takes a lot out of you. There'll be days you don't want to get out of bed. You know, you could wake up and your body just feels, you know, I remember a couple of years ago, a while ago, I was so depressed. I stayed in my bedroom for the entire summer and did not come out. Had the curtains drawn, didn't want to, you know, and like I you know, I would know it would be nice and sunny outside, and, you know, but I was in I was in so much pain physically, I couldn't even get up. Like, you know, I couldn't get out of bed, and, you know, like, I didn't want to talk to anybody. There'll be days, probably weeks, where I wouldn't talk to anybody. Via text, phone call, nothing. I just, you know, I felt isolated. Even though people were trying to reach out to me, I still felt isolated, because in the mind of a person who's suffering with this, it's almost like you're in that box, and you don't, you know, and you can't see, for lack of a better term, you can't see the forest for the trees. So, you know, it's you get to that point where it physically incapacitates you, and then it mentally breaks you down, and you can't think straight. You can't formulate a proper thought. You know, people could ask you what day it is, and you wouldn't know, much less wouldn't care. And it's when you're in that dark world, when you're in that dark place, it is the hardest, the most difficult thing in the world is to try to regain some sense of normalcy, because normal is not normal. You don't know what normal is anymore. People, and I've had friends that said to me, hey, you could just snap out of it. You can't. There is no snapping out of it. You can't just flick a switch and suddenly you're better. It's a battle, and it's literally a battle with yourself that you're fighting. And if you've it's kind of like having that angel on one shoulder, the devil on the other, and both of them, once one person's telling you, you ain't worth sticking around here anymore. No one's gonna care. No one's gonna miss you. No one's gonna, and those are genuine thoughts. Those are genuine feelings. That you think that your presence is more of a problem than your absence will ever be, and you see it as a way of, you see suicide as a way of just removing the problem permanently. You don't see the other side of the equation. You don't see the aftermath. You don't, because when we're at that point, we don't think of the aftermath. We're just thinking of the pain's going to be over, and eventually, we're just thinking that the pain's going to be over, and that's it. We just want the pain to end. Extreme mood swings is another thing to look for, and there's a whole laundry list of things you need to look for that you could, again, there's a wealth of resources that you could just go online and Google, go to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and online, and they will give you tips, things to look for, and stuff to coping mechanisms. You gotta forgive my speech. But yeah, a person with extreme mood swings, and I've experienced those. Probably not as extreme as people, but that's more to people, I guess, lends itself to people that are bipolar, because they have the extreme mood swings. People that are suffering with depression, they do have mood swings, but the extreme mood swings are more the traits of someone that are bipolar, and they are probably one of the highest risk factors. I guess if you could put it that way. The highest risk factor, one of the more extreme high risk factors for suicide, because they, and I'm speaking from personal experiences, because I have a friend that's bipolar, and it's painful to watch what she's going through, because as a friend, and this is someone that you care about, and someone that that you hold close to you, and to see a person going through something that you can't understand, and that you can't, it's something that you can't fight. It's not someone that you can say, okay, you know what, who's bothering you? I'm gonna come over and kick this person's ass. No, and that's the kind of friend I am. If someone's fucking bothering my friends, I'm gonna handle it. And when a person's depressed and suicidal and got bipolar, as a friend, you feel hopeless. You feel helpless because your hands are tied, because all you can do is just listen. And even though that does a whole world of good, in the back of your mind, you're still kind of just like, what can I do? And then you're worried about this person, and it's so, this is what I'm saying, that suicide and mental health, man, it takes a lot out of everyone, not just the person suffering, but the person suffering is going through a whole lot more than what we would ever know. Another thing that I kind of wanted to bring up to that as well, forget it's on my paper because I had to take notes on certain things, is just, a lot of people sit there and go, okay, so how can I help? Lord. So there's ways you can help. Like I said, talking is one. If you think or that your friend is on the edge, you can call the suicide hotline for them and patch them through. If you're talking to someone right now and they sound like everything is bleak, disconnected from the conversation. They're disconnected from you as a friend to a certain degree. They just exhibit the signs that they don't think anything's ever going to get better. They keep saying, you know what, I feel like I'm a burden. I don't, and they start, things they'll say to you is, don't worry about me. Or they'll say stuff like, it'll all end or be over soon. Stuff like that is like a clear-cut red flag. It's a flare going up that you need to really pay attention to, and take action. Take action. They might get mad that you're trying to stop them. They'll probably put up a fight and say, leave me alone, I want to go. And yeah, they probably do. But there's so much more to life. And as much as we may not understand what they're going through, is just as much as they can't explain why they're going through it, or what they need to do to get better. There's other ways that we can help. Get a counselor, talk to a pastor, talk to a parent, especially when it comes to teens. Teen suicide is very serious. It's a very big thing. Because teens are at that stage where they don't talk. And now I know that we give teens a lot of flack because they're rude sometimes, and they don't sometimes respect authority or anyone. And yeah, I've even fallen under that blanket of these kids nowadays ain't got no respect. Be that as it may, and I'm talking about the kids that are desperately in need of help. Especially now with bullying, and I still can't wrap my head around online bullying, but apparently it's a thing, and it's something that that needs to be addressed, and we need to just kind of get kids a little bit more interactive in the world outside of the computer. I think that's probably one of the biggest problems that that we experience with our teenagers, is that they don't know how to reach out. They don't know how to express themselves, so they internalize a lot of their pain. And when you internalize it, it's kind of like it does a whole lot more damage. And so I'm kind of like I'm stumbling a whole lot trying to explain this, and I apologize because I really feel like I'm not doing justice to this topic. I feel that I don't know. I just, if someone's listening to this and you are at that point, reach out. Talk to someone. It does eventually get better. There is a light at the end of the tunnel you're in. I know it seems dark and like there is no hope. And I've been there. I've been there a lot. I'm still there sometimes. But, for anyone that needs someone to talk to, reach out. Hit me up if you want to just if you want to just vent. Reach out to the show, reach out to somebody, talk to a friend, talk to a family member, talk to a loved one, talk to a stranger, but just talk and keep talking and keep fighting. I can't promise you better days, but I can promise you that, if you're not here, the damage that will be left behind with your absence is a lot worse than what you think the damage is being done with your presence. You matter. You matter to somebody. There is somebody in this world right now that is worried about you, and that They want you to do better. They want you. They don't know how to reach out to you, and you probably feel like you don't have anyone in your corner, but you do. You matter. You are not alone. I know you're suffering. I know you're hurting, but please reach out. If you don't feel like talking to a friend or family, call the suicide prevention hotline. Reach out to somebody. It's imperative that you do that. It's 1-800-273-8255. That's all I can keep saying. 1-800-273-8255. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Someone's there to listen. Someone's there to help. I hope that by me kind of like letting you in a little bit into giving you a little bit of eyesight into the stuff that I've been through in my past, the stuff I still suffer with today, that it kind of helps someone want to live, and it kind of makes someone take a step away from that precipice and take a look around and realize that, you know what, it may be bad today, but it could be better tomorrow. And death is never an answer. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem that leaves everyone with more questions than answers. Life does get better. Even if you're suffering, life does get better. It could always be worse. Whatever you're going through, it can always be worse. And death is never an answer. And I know right now, whoever's listening to this, that you're probably suffering and you're probably feeling like you're so alone and you can't go on. But you can. You can fight. You are a lot stronger than you give yourself credit for. And you are worth more than you ever know anything about terror. You are worth a lot more than you think you are. 1-800-273-8255. Reach out and speak to someone. If you have a story you want to tell, man, just hit me up. Hit me up on my gram at Flavor. I'm sorry, my brain just went down. Hit me up on my gram at Control Chaos Cast or at DJ Flavors _ the Mixologist, or at my Twitter at Flavorsar. But talk, because when you keep talking, you keep living, and there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. This has been the Control Chaos Podcast. I am your host, DJ Flavors, the Mixologist, and I thank you all for listening, and I thank you all for understanding. And please, if you don't share anything else, just share this podcast with someone that you think needs to hear the story. It does get better. It does get better. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. And you are loved. Control Chaos Podcast. Thank you all for listening.